Hello you guys, welcome to another Dinda's ranting video. For this ranting video this time, I want to do like a quick recap of how this year is for me, and also the lessons that I learned this year, and maybe my resolution for next year. Okay, first of all, a little recap of how this year is treating me. This year has been interesting and certainly not boring. Lots of ups and downs, lots of learning moments, and I feel like this year there's lots of problems that I'm facing, and it feels like problems after problems after problems. And I'm not trying to complain here, I'm really not, it's just how it is. Despite all of the problems, there's also lessons to learn. There's also a blessing in disguise. I feel like I'm stronger this year because about, I would say 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, I also faced not similar but also situations where I feel like problems after problems after problems were hitting me, like from left, from right, from up, from down, and I wasn't strong enough. And then I got into depression, and it was a long time for me to it was a long time for me to deal with the depression. I think I dealt with it for about 3 years. Yeah, that was a long time, and that was my dark age, you know. And this year I also face problems after problems after problems, but the difference is that there are several differences between problems that I face about 10 years ago that led to my depression, and then problems that I face now, even though it's basically the same, problems after problems after problems. The difference is that, well, 10 years ago, I feel like I was just a kid. I was basically just a kid, and I was raised in a very loving environment by very loving parents, overprotective parents, and my parents, they're my protector, they're my provider. They provide me with everything, including love, and they're just an amazing support system for me. So the problems that I faced 10 years ago, I feel like for most parts I was helped by so many people, by an amazing support systems, by my parents, my other family members, and also my friends. And even then, even when basically at that moment, at that time 10 years ago, I feel like everybody's doing their best to help me. It still took me about 3 years to get out of the depression. And now 10 years later, I'm faced with a similar situation where I'm facing problems after problems after problems. But this time, the difference is that this time it's my turn to be there for my amazing support system. This time around, it's my turn to be the one that my loved ones can count on. Like for example, for my parents, I've mentioned it several times in my other renting videos that my parents, they're my heroes, and now they're getting older and weaker, and so it's time for me to step up to the plate and be there for them and taking care of them. So yeah, that's what I'm doing this year. I feel like that's my main role, to be there for my parents and take care of them more. Less than a month ago, my dad had a prostate surgery, and throughout my life and throughout his life, my dad has never been hospitalized. He's a doctor. He's never been really sick, and he knows how to take care of himself. So it's a brand new experience for our family, where we are faced with the fact that no matter how strong we think Dad is, he's still a human being. He's getting older and he's sick. So even though it's hard for us to face that fact, we still have to be there for him, to take care of him. Thankfully, my dad is now getting better. Slowly but surely, he's getting better. And yeah, that's a relief for me. That's a relief. And also, other than that problem, also there's several other problems. Not my problems, but problems in my family, about my family members, that whether I like it or not, it affected me. So it became my problem too. And yeah, we have to deal with that also. And another problem is problems at work. Huge problems at work, actually. But I don't actually mind those problems. I think those problems, I just have to face it, and then at the end of the tunnel, there's gotta be lesson to learn. So the recap of my 2019 was, well, I have lots of problems, lots of ups and downs. Certainly I have an interesting year, never boring. There's always something going on. So it can be a good thing and a bad thing, depends on how you're looking at it. And then there's my dad's health problem, realizing that my hero and protector is not like who he was anymore, because just face it, it's inevitable that no matter who you are, you will get older, you will become weaker. It's just how it is. And I'm having difficulties in accepting that fact about my parents. Still dealing with it, and still dealing with it the best that I know how to. And then another recap of my 2019. There's also problems faced by my closest family members that ends up being my problems too. I can't get into it too much because it's sensitive, and I don't want to say anything wrong that can possibly make the problem worse. But I do want to say that in the past, I also have problems, and I remember my closest family members and also my friends, they're helping me a lot in dealing with those problems. And maybe this is my turn to repay them by also, you know, dealing with their problems as best as I know how, and help them to solve their problems also. Yeah. Also, okay, and the last things about my recap of 2019 is that problems at work. There's nothing special about my problems at work. Everybody has their own problems too. But I just realizing that I've been all my life I've been pretty much overprotected, you know, so usually it's other people helping me solving my problems, but this time around I have to solve my own problems and even help others to solve their problems. So this is fairly new roles for me, and I'm still learning on how to best do it, but I won't give up. I don't think I will ever give up. This is part of growing up. This is part of personal growth, to be a better person, a better daughter, a better boss, a better friend, a better sister. And that's, for me, that's what life's all about. You know, it's about growth. It's not about perfection or achieving perfection, because again, as I've said many times, I don't believe in perfection. For me, perfection means the end. There's no more room for improvement, no more room to become a better version of you. So I don't believe in perfection. I still have lots of learning to do, learning how to become a better boss, learning how to become a better friend, a better person, a better daughter. And I try to embrace all of my problems instead of, you know, cursing, oh damn, why I have this problems, why I have that problems. I don't want to do that. I try to embrace all of my problems as a learning experience. I believe that when I'm facing my problems, I believe that there's light at the end of the tunnel, that, you know, it's only that by dealing with those problems, it's only gonna make me a better person in the end. Okay, now moving on to the next part of my video. It's about the lessons I learned in 2019. Okay, there's several points here. The first is, I love how in life you will always have to learn. You can never be too arrogant to think that, oh, I got life all figured out. That is not the case with life. That is also what I love about life, is that life will never stop trying to teach you a lesson. Even with the same lesson, for example, you might feel like, oh, I have this problem and I'm dealing with it, and I know what lesson I should take from this problem, and that means I got things, or I got this part of life all figured out. No, that is not the case with life. With life, you will, even most of the times, you will relearning the same lessons for several times or over and over again throughout your whole life. That's how great life is, you know. You can never really truly figure it out. That's what makes life interesting. Most times even, life will teach you the same lessons over and over again, and that's okay. You just have to be willing to open up yourself and learn and grow from your experiences. Yeah, that's totally what I feel about life and problems that life is throwing at you. Also this year I learned about self-love, self-appreciation, and self-acceptance. Now, why is those things important for me? Because for most of my life, I would say for even more than 30 years of my life, I struggled with low self-esteem. I didn't love myself. I was literally my own worst enemy. I think I was being overly critical of myself, and I feel like I'm not worthy enough. And this year has taught me a lot that I am worthy. I am worthy, and I should stop being my own worst enemy. And that I feel like because I had such low self-esteem, I always seek validation from outside. And I learned this year, especially this year, that I don't need outside's validation. I just need to love and accept myself for who I am. That's the most important thing. This year, I also learned that I am enough. I don't have to be enough for anybody else. I just have to be enough for myself. And I feel like ever since I'm able to make peace with myself, ever since I am able to love and accept myself for who I am, I feel like my life has gotten easier and I have less internal conflict. So yeah, so it's a bit contradictory in a sense that I feel like this year I'm hit by so many problems, from left, right, up, bottom, problems. But also I feel like this year I'm more at peace with myself, if that makes sense. And I feel like mostly that's because I've stopped being my own worst enemy. And also in connection with the self-love and self-appreciation that I was talking about, I'm just gonna read and then explain, okay? I used to be a doormat, a pushover, too much of a people pleaser, but not anymore. So I think why I was a doormat is because I had such a low self-esteem. I feel like I'm not even worthy to be living this life. I'm not as worthy as other human beings out there. That's why I felt the need to, to be a people pleaser, to not to put myself in second priority, and I always put others' priority in front of mine. I guess that could be a bad thing and also a good thing, but for me most of the times it was always a bad thing because I had to sacrifice lots of my own opinion and my own needs so that I can please other people. I feel like I was less authentic back then because I had the need to please other people, but not anymore. This year I'm learning more and more about myself. I'm learning more and more how to become my authentic self. This year I learned to, this year I learned to voice my opinion more. I learned how to be more vocal in lots of environment, and that is me trying to take the power back, the power that I gave to the power that I gave to other people, and now I'm taking that back. I used to think that I was a weak person and that I always need help from other people to do things or even to go through life. But this year I find the balance that I'm not as weak as I thought I was. I don't always need other people to go through life. In fact, I'm learning this year that other people, they can rely on me too, and that I will always be there for the people that I love in my life. Also this year, I am more in touch with my inner feelings, and that I'm more emotional this year, I have to admit. More emotional in the sense of not just bad emotions, but also good emotions. I feel more, if that makes sense. I feel more. Whether it's sadness, anger, or happiness, I feel more. And I think that's because, again, part of it is because I'm at peace with myself now. I'm no longer my own worst enemy, and that is a relief, and I'm so thankful for that. Another thing that I learned in 2019 is I learned to know myself better, and I found out that when you know yourself better, when you're not enemies with yourself, when you're in a good relationship with yourself, outside factors, for example, the judgment from others or how others think of you won't matter as much, because what matters is you, how you accept yourself, how you judge yourself. So yeah, in a way that is kinda not kinda, but it's very liberating. So yeah, I guess in essence, one of the most important lesson I learned this year is I learned that I don't need outside validation to be happy. I don't need outside acceptance to love myself the way I am. And that is a lesson that I am going to bring with me throughout the rest of my life. Okay, so we did the recap of 2019 for me, and we did also the lessons I learned in 2019, and now we're going to the last part of the video, which is New Year's resolution, what I hope I can achieve in 2020. So let me see my cheat sheet. It's not actually a cheat sheet, but by the way. But anyways, my New Year's resolution, I hope I can learn to have more patience. So the thing with me is I'm very emotional, right? I don't know why I feel all kinds of emotions more deeply, including when I lost my patience. So I hope next year, by 2020, I can learn more about how to control my emotions and have more patience towards people, just people in general. Now the second thing that I hope I can achieve in 2020 is I hope to be less panicky. Now, people who know me know that I get panicked very, very easily. Now, I found out that in 2019, with all of the problems that coming to me, I feel like those problems are good to control my panic, you know. And I get less and less panicky these days, but I hope in 2020 I'll become less panicky. Another New Year's resolution that is also very important for me, I hope that by 2020 I'll be able to open up my heart more to new people, because um as I've mentioned, I don't know, I don't remember, did I mention in earlier videos that, anyways, I put up a high wall and I feel like I live inside a bubble and I don't let people in easily, and I hope that can change in 2020 because I really do feel like I need to let more people into my life, and I should be less cautious all the time. Last but not least, I hope in 2020 I get to spend more time with my loved ones, and also I hope in 2020 I'll learn more and become a better daughter, a better human being, a better sister, a better boss. And I know that I won't stop learning. As long as I live, life will always throw me curveballs, and I'm kind of excited. Bring it on. I know it won't always be easy, but I know that every time I try to overcome a problem, I know that there's a lesson for me to learn at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, here's to 2020, and cannot wait for the new year, and cannot wait to see what next year has in store for me. Happy New Year, everybody. Bye bye.